Hello everyone. In the next edition of the interviews of language professionals, the guest today is Dr. Sunanda Mahajan. She holds a doctorate in German language. She retired recently as head of the Department of Foreign Languages of Savitribai Phule Pune University. She has taught German literature for more than 35 years. She is the co-editor of the translation quarterly Kelyane Bhashantar since 1999. She has to her credit publications of books which are translated from German literature into Marathi, like Holocaustच्या Kavita in 2006, Khidkya, which is the translation of Im Stillen by Clemens Medger in 2011, Brigitte आणि Paula from The Liebhaberinnen by Elfriede Jelinek in 2012, Lal Prawal आणि इतर कथा, translation of the book Sommerhaus Später by Judith Hermann in 2016, Akash Patal, the translation of Die Welt im Rücken by Thomas Meller in 2018, Svikrut, the translation of Leben by David Wagner in 2019. Dr. Mahajan and Dr. Anagha Bhatt have translated the anthology of German and Russian novelettes published by Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya आणि संस्कृती मंडळ Mumbai in 2020 called तिकडून आणलेल्या गोष्टी. She is the co-compiler and co-editor of a trilingual dictionary Marathi, Russian, German published by Kalasakta Pune in 2013. She has co-edited Kathantar, which is a volume of translated stories published by Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya व संस्कृती मंडळ Mumbai in 2017. Her work was appreciated by awards like the Rekha Dhole Puraskar in 2017 by Rajhans Prakashan and Maharashtra Sahitya Parishad Pune for the contribution to the field of translation through Kelyane Bhashantar. She received the BITS Special Recognition Award of the year 2017 from BITS Private Limited, Pune. She received the Best Teacher V.K. Zog Puraskar for the year 2018-19 by Savitribai Phule Pune University. Prabodhan Puraskar was conferred on her by We Need You Society Thane for the contribution to the field of translation in 2019. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
We are interviewing language professionals from various languages working in various aspects of the language who are contributing to this written word.
Okay.
And they are doing a great job. Madam, you retired recently as head of the Department of Foreign Languages, Pune University. How was that experience?
I was working at the University of Pune at the Department of Foreign Languages for more than 34 years actually.
Okay.
And my tenure as head of the department was only for 3 years, last 3 years. Actually head of the department is an administrative post. And because it is the department of 5 different foreign languages, the head has to look after the administration of all the 5 languages with the help of coordinators of that particular language sections.
Okay.
And so admissions, examinations, conduct of classes, booking of the centers, like we need 20 odd classrooms in the evening and in the morning.
Okay.
So that administration is a lot of work.
Okay.
At the same time, I was also looking after the German section as coordinator. So one of the coordinators usually becomes head of the department, and it is in the rotation. So that administrative post of the head is it demands actually more time, and accordingly for those 3 years actually I said okay, because I had worked as coordinator of German section earlier also, but those 3 years I enjoyed also in a different way of in a different way, because it is administrative work. I learned also a lot, and I had constant contact with the university staff at that time due to various administrative work. So, but Actually, while working as head of the department also, I also used to save my time for the translation activity, because that is something which is my passion. And during that time, actually, I did translate a very heavy kind of novel, which is an autobiography, and I worked there for a project run by, initiated by the Goethe Institute. And that was very, very interesting and also kind of time consuming. But I could, actually I accepted that particular project because I thought that would give me more energy and more kind of Seelenruhe, peace of mind.
Peace of mind, yeah.
Because the translation is something which gives me energy, for example. And so I enjoyed doing that translation. It was a novel of around 350 pages.
Oh my God.
Autobiography of a person who is suffering from a mental disorder. And he is narrating his own story, and that was maybe I will narrate about it little in details. See, that I really enjoyed that project, and during the time of my headship actually, and with purpose I accepted that project, though I knew that it might be difficult for me to give time to it, but I could manage it very well. So this person who is suffering from mental disorder, which is called bipolar disorder, so he is narrating his story, and which is very heavy text actually, and that was done in a group. We were 10 translators of different Asian countries, and we were given a digital platform. So this digital platform was made available, where not only we 10 translators could have a dialogue with each other, but also we could have close dialogue and contact with the author himself. And so for every small context or every small question, we would ask him, and he would immediately answer to my question or to anybody's question.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And that software was also very interesting. When you open the computer, you see a page. Left side is the text which is to be translated, and right side was a blank page. So whatever questions related to that page are there, you could ask. You could write, or you could underline, or you could say that I did not understand this particular context. Maybe it was a political personality which was referred to, or some music, or musician or singer. And not every singer I would know from the contemporary German or Western context. So the author immediately will reply. He sometimes he uploaded also some audio-visual clips or songs. So it was really very interesting, and the author was very cooperative, and that was the main thing. And we enjoyed our dialogue also. For example, at that time, the title was Die Welt im Rücken. That means the world at the back. So everybody said, no, it is difficult to say it in my language, because there was, for example, there were translators from China, Korea, Japan, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and so on. And we were 2 from India, 1 from Bengal, and for Marathi I was translating. So I said that I cannot translate it word to word. And so we had a very nice discussion about the title, for example. A very actually a dialogue which was very fruitful. And so this was also, this could also happen. For example, there was also a kind of competition or concurrence, because when somebody used to ask, our Korean colleague was very fast, and she was supposed to finish the translation also little early. So she used to ask, and I used to say, my God, she is already on the page number 90 and I'm still doing on the page number 50. So this kind of competition was also there.
Okay.
So it was really, it was kind of fun. And one more very interesting thing happened because in the last spell of the translation, some 90 pages or 100 pages were remaining in my case.
Okay.
And I had a chance to go to Germany for 2 months.
Okay.
So I was there as under faculty exchange program.
Okay.
And there I could have more time in the mornings and in the night and I devoted that time to the translation.
I see. Okay.
And I could finish those 100 pages there in month of May and June 2018. And somebody told me, a friend of mine in Germany, she told me that this particular book has been staged and at the same time actually it was staged in Vienna in Austria. I was in Göttingen in Germany.
Okay.
And that she said that play is fantastic and so many people are actually praising and it was a one-man show. I mean it was a solo performance for 3 hours. So I inquired and all the shows in June were full. Then I wrote to the director in Vienna Academy Theatre and I requested that I am translating this book and I have come from India, so I have no chance to see the play after June because I'll be there only in May and June and so on. And I requested him that I should get a ticket, and I was given a ticket.
Great.
And on I think it was on 7th or 8th of June 2018, and I went all the way from Göttingen to Vienna to watch that play, and it was very amazing. Only one person, I think he was Mayhofer, and he is a fantastic Schauspieler, actor, and he played it. And I could actually follow every line, and it was so wonderful, and that was very important for me because I wanted to see how he interpreted, the director and the actor, how he interpreted the text. And I was fortunate to, I can say that I was, that was a kind of confirmation for me that I was on the correct lines.
Great.
Yeah. Yes. So then I reviewed actually once more all my pages from 1 to 350 and all. So and this book was published in Frankfurt Book Fair 2018. All the 10 translations together. And the author was also there, and we had a panel discussion with him. It was very interesting.
Fantastic.
So this project, I liked the process of the translation very much, because the author was always available.
So it was like a real time thing going on between translator and author.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I remember you had mentioned you visited this university in Zurich for translation and interpretation.
Correct.
So can you tell us more about it?
Yes, definitely. See, we had once a professor from Zurich University. It is called University of Applied Sciences. And she is a linguist and applied linguistics. So she is working in the institute of that university in near Zurich. It is actually called Winter Tour. But it is the part of the University of Zurich. And she had visited our department once. And she was very keen on having some collaboration. So this particular project was decided that a person from Pondicherry University, French professor, then one from German section from our university, we would go, and one person from Max Müller Bhavan, that is Goethe Institute. So we would go there to observe how the translation and interpretation studies are conducted at that particular institute of Zurich University. And then they would come to visit our university, and they would actually conduct a workshop for our students who are having paper of translation, and they would train them as interpreters. And that workshop was for 1 week in January 2019.
Okay.
But I had the opportunity to visit the university in Zurich in October, and that was also for 1 week.
Okay.
And that was actually a very different experience because this is well-equipped institute.
Okay.
And they have bachelor's program and master's program. Bachelor program is not for interpretation, but master's you can specialize as interpreter.
Okay.
And they showed us how this training is given at the bachelor's level and at the master's level, and how the interpreters are actually trained. And we also could visit or sit in their classes, and how different softwares of translations are made available to the students, how they can operate it, and how actually the live situations are created for the interpreting students.
Okay.
And that was really very wonderful because it was a thorough training.
Okay.
That is, after you finish your masters in interpreting, you can go. As interpreter, and in Switzerland actually they have official 4 languages.
Okay.
And German, French, Italian, and Romansh. And so each government document or any kind of document is immediately translated in 3 other languages.
Okay.
And that is why they need always translators and interpreters.
Okay.
And this University of Applied Sciences, they have different applied sciences, and they have different different institutes devoted to this applied linguistics.
Okay.
And one part is translation and interpretation. So we could actually, for example, there was a mock interview taken. 3 of us were interviewed, 3 Indians. And she was asking us questions in English, and immediately the other student was actually interpreting it in German. And then again, that means they were just showing us how these, and I think they were just they were first year students. So actually, not the whole training was done in their case. But they were really very
they were
good.
doing it so nicely.
Yeah. And then the next session was of correction. Their professor would say where she or he has made mistakes, how the voice should be, how you should sit. And that is what they also 3 of them had come to Pune then in January, and they took the workshop for our students for a whole week, and they actually started how should you sit when you are interpreting.
Okay.
And how, the voice culture for the interpreting, and how there are different kinds of interpreting jobs like dialogue interpreting, conference interpreting, in day-to-day simultaneous interpreting, and so on. And even, for example, in Switzerland, they said that in the public spaces like hospitals or in any administrative offices, these interpreters are always in demand. And another very interesting thing I could observe, there it was a bachelor's convocation ceremony, and we were also invited. And it was also mixture of translation and interpreting. And the director of that institute, he started talking. Then he said he is from England. So he said, my mother tongue is English. So the next speech will be in English. He started speaking in English, and his colleagues sitting in Germany, in Munich, she was doing interpreting. She was doing the translation of his speech, but it was an interpretation actually. And she was doing it from Munich. And she was writing there, and that was displayed on the background. At the background, there was a backdrop on the stage, and that text was immediately displayed on that backdrop.
Fantastic.
So that was really amazing, and I was so thrilled and amazed that I said, this kind of use of technology should also be there in India.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so actually that was really very amazing.
Yes.
And how different fields are there for the for a person who is actually who is willing to become language professional.
Okay.
So it is not only teaching or it is not only translating, but even here they are trained also to work in different medias.
Okay.
So in their bachelor's program, they also have papers on multimedia projects. So this kind of training is actually not, I don't think that in that well-equipped fashion technologically, because their classrooms, if you observe the classrooms, they are fully equipped with all kinds of softwares. And every student has a computer on his. So the desks are with the computer.
Okay. So it's all ready for them.
So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Ma'am, we would like to know your contribution as a co-compiler and co-editor of the trilingual dictionary, Marathi, Russian, German, published by Kalasatta in 2013.
Correct. This was a major research project funded by University Grants Commission.
Okay.
So it was UGC project.
Okay.
And my senior colleague, Professor Dr. Kumar, who was teaching Russian in our department, he initiated actually this program. So he was the major investigator, I was the co-investigator.
Okay.
And we could work on this project for 2 years with the UGC funding, and we had two project associates, research associate and project associate, one post each.
Okay.
So Dr. Anaga Bhatt and Amruta Kulkarni.
Okay.
Amruta was working with me on German, Marathi German part, and Anaga was working with Dr. Kumar, Marathi Russian.
Marathi Russian. Okay.
So this UGC, because it was very unique, trilingual dictionary, it was approved by the UGC, and we were given 2 years. Funding for 2 years. Then after completion of 2 years, it was not possible to finish it in 2 years. So we requested for the extension. We could get the extension for 1 more year. But that was without funding. That is, only time was given to complete the project, but the funding was not available. But still we continued. And after 3 years, we submitted the whole project. So that was of around 540 pages. And it was denotative with the denotative meanings and connotative usage also. We could also include proverbs whenever it was necessary, or different phrases which are normally used in that in those languages. Marathi was the source language. And target languages were German and Russian. So it was a learner's dictionary. The person or the students learning in beginners courses up to advanced diploma or up to C1, they could actually use this dictionary. So from Marathi into German or from Marathi into Russian. So students learning both the languages or one of the foreign languages, or even the foreigners learning Marathi. There are people learning Marathi in Russia. There are people learning Marathi in Germany also. So they could, if they want, they could also use this dictionary. So there are around I forgot the exact number.
No problem.
But
around 6 lakh maybe.
Entries. No. Not that much. But because it is a learner's dictionary. And but there are 540 pages, that much I remember.
Not a problem. It is already such an extensive work.
Yes, it was. And then after those 3 years, the lexicon or the project was completed. But when we wanted to publish it as in the form of dictionary, which could be made available to the students, then again it took 1 more year, because we had to go through each and every entry in details and very minutely, and then only we could publish it. We have a trust called Kalasakta Pune,
Okay.
and this Kalasakta Pune publishes also a quarterly devoted to the translations.
Okay.
It is called Kelyane Bhashantar. So this is our publications since 1999.
Oh.
And so we had this possibility of publishing this dictionary through Kalasakta.
Kalasakta.
So Kalasakta published it.
Okay.
So that is that the UGC does not give any funding for publication.
Okay.
UGC sponsors only projects.
Okay.
And when they are completed, the UGC does not have anything to do with it, with the publication.
So publication you have to take care of on your own, with your own experience.
Yes.
Right. And this quarterly you mentioned Kelyane Bhashantar. So who started this, and I mean, how did this happen, and why was it started?
See, there was a workshop on translation in Hyderabad, in the Institute of Foreign Languages, English and Foreign Languages. At that time it was called CFL, but now it is EFLU, English and Foreign Languages University. And we were colleagues from Pune, from Russian section and from German. So just in informal, we were chatting actually, very informally, and then we found out that each one of us is actually busy in translating or has translated some literary texts from German into Marathi, from Russian into Marathi, and so on. So we said, why not create a platform? Let us just try out. And then it was in 1998. We came back, two from Russian section, and myself and my husband, who was also teacher of German. We started thinking that yes, this kind of platform can be created and we can have some. So we got 1 year for brainstorming, and then we said, okay, it is only for the literature translated from various foreign languages into Marathi. So we said we can exclude actually English, because English has been translated from English. I mean, literary texts from English language are already translated, and many platforms are available. But for this, and this should be direct translations. I mean, for example, German literature has been translated into Marathi earlier also, but that is the translation of English translation. So, for example, Hermann Hesse is translated, Sir Deshmukh has translated it, but from English version. Or Vinda Karandikar has translated, for example, Faust, but from English Faust. So, naturally, we usually say that something is always lost in the translation. So why then use two translations? I mean, translation of English, and which is actually already a translation of German or Russian or French. So we said it should be direct, it should be devoted to direct translations. And the first issue was published on the 1st January of 1999. And we said it should be quarterly, so 4 issues per year. And we now we are going to publish in December, last week of December, the 84th issue of our Kelyane Bhashantar.
Fantastic.
So we are doing it very regularly, and sometimes people say that I mean 4 issues per year. Sometimes we do I mean some issues are delayed, they are published with delay, but still 4 issues per year, that is our goal, and that we have done. So different languages are there. For example, we had presented translations from German, French, Russian, Italian, Polish, a very few from Chinese, then even from Pakistan and Bangladesh, and a very few, 2 or 3 times I think. Then I think the Spanish. And
okay.
Spanish also from South American countries. So Spanish literature from Spain and Spanish literature from South American countries.
Okay.
So all these languages are represented, and we have the distribution is mainly by we post it with the help of post only. We tried with the courier services, but post is the most reliable. So we and it is also affordable. So we depend on the post. And sometimes they get delayed, sometimes they are not, they are very efficient sometimes, but we rely on them.
Somehow the magazine reaches the people.
And we have around 450 to 500 subscribers. And many libraries of many colleges in Maharashtra and also in Goa. They are our subscribers, and that is very important thing for us, because once it is in the library, there are many different readers. Because when it goes to individual, as individual subscriber, it only reaches 1 or 2 persons or his family. But when it reaches the library, it is actually available to all the students.
That is the benefit of that library.
And we also have lifetime subscribers. And we get funded. We get funding from Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya and Sanskriti Mandal right now. But earlier we used to get funding from Rajya Marathi Vikas Sanstha. Then Nehru Center for 5 years. Rajya Marathi Vikas Sanstha from Nehru Center. Then Pawar Public Charitable Trust. So from all these institutions we used to get funding. But now we are getting only from this Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya Sanskriti Mandal. And last year we received a very prestigious prize from a trust which is called We Need You Society. It is a society. It is actually in Thane. And they every year they give this prize to a quarterly or a kind of magazine, print media. So we received it for 2018.
Great.
And that was 1 lakh rupees.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. Jayant Kulkarni from this We Need You Society and Mr. Sane, both are the office bearers who found us worthy of this prize, and we are very happy.
Great. And how is the selection process of these stories that are translated in your magazine? So do you select them, or does the translator select them?
The translators select them. Sometimes, very, very rarely actually, we had done that process also of selection. But then we leave it to the translators. And some earlier we used to have one particular theme of each issue, but it is very difficult. See, learning a foreign language is a different thing, and translating from foreign language into Marathi is a different thing, because you should have the reading. I mean, you should have read Marathi literature as well as that foreign language literature also. Then only actually the good translations can happen. So this kind of combination is then rare. So though we have more than 80 translators have translated for us, so they select their own translations or own literary texts, and they send us the translations together with the original text, and then we get it read or corrected, or we get the approval from the language experts that are there on our advisory committee.
That is the process.
And even for Marathi style editing, we have a colleague from Marathi. A Marathi expert is also there, who does not know any foreign language. And that is very important, because once you know the foreign language, the syntactical structures are jumbled sometimes. So we take her help for Marathi style editing also.
Okay.
And as far as copyrights are concerned, we approach the authors or the publishers. And as far as Kelyane Bhashantar's quarterly is concerned, most of the publishers in Germany or in Russia or in France, they have said, because it is not a commercial activity. You know, the quarterly, the one issue is for 60 rupees, which is less than €1.
Yes.
And we say that we always request them that it is not a commercial activity, but it is a cultural activity. So they don't charge us anything for copyright. Only then they say that if you are publishing it in a book form, then we would charge you. And that we have also done. We have paid the copyrights for when it was to be published in the book form. So that is there. So with the prior permission only we publish it, because in some cases it is not required because they are out of copyright, some texts, like
some very old texts, for example.
But otherwise we or we consult the authors. That is also.
You have to your credit book publications. Does the publisher choose the content or the translator chooses it? We would like to know in detail about each book. You have already explained to us the Welt im Rücken for like Akash Patal, but we would like to know the other books also.
Yes. I was fortunate that I could choose the books which I wanted to translate. And then my publisher, the Continental Prakashan in Pune, she readily accepted whatever I had given her and requested her to publish. So I was never commissioned except for the book The Welt im Rücken, because that was actually something different. It was a different project. But otherwise, my very first book, in translation of course, but it was a kind of a book on the poems or on the poets. That was Holocaustcha Kavita. So when I was studying poetry, actually I was studying women's literature, and at that time I attended a seminar on a Jew poetess, and I did not know very in details about the Holocaust and about the history of Jew people in Germany and so when I started reading Gertrude Kolmar's poems, because of that particular seminar I was attending, so I got interested, and then I read other Jew poetesses also, and because I was reading women's literature, I selected few poetesses, and that was something. I mean, the history of Holocaust, the history of the Nazi period, and and it was. I was shocked to know, first of all, because you just knew it as a part of history when you are a student, but when you really go into deep, then you come across so many things and so many incidents and the literature basically, that it was very fascinating in that way. So I started reading the Jew poetesses, and then I thought that many people in Maharashtra or our Marathi readers are actually, or they don't know much about these poetesses, or they don't know much about Holocaust also. So I thought of preparing a book on these Jew poetesses. And I selected 4 such German Jew poetesses and their poetry related to Holocaust. I mean, they were actually expressing their experiences or their observations on Holocaust. And so I selected Gertrude Kolmar, Nelly Sachs, who is also a Nobel Prize winner, then Else Lasker Schuler and Rosa Ausländer. These are the 4 poetesses who wrote about their Holocaust experiences. And then I wrote about those poems. And actually it is very difficult to present translations of such poems, only poems, without giving the whole context or without giving the historical and political context. So I thought of actually giving those poems in the flow of explanations. I mean, I presented in that particular book 4 biographies of these poetesses, and while talking about their life, I talked about their work related to Holocaust, and during the flow of the explanation, I presented the poems. Because if you read only poems without this background, it is not possible to understand the way you should actually.
Maybe the context would not be clear.
So one particular chapter of this book actually contains the historical and political background and social cultural background of the period when these poetesses lived and when and 2 of them were killed actually. So I liked the most Elsa Lasker-Schuler because she was a fantastic poetess, and other 3 also. And so that book was the first book, which was not only translation, but it was part of it was the translation. Then the translation of poems is normally considered as very difficult because prose or drama, it is okay, but translating poems is very challenging. Then I translated while doing my doctoral research. It was also on women's literature. I read Elfriede Jelinek's book, Die Liebhaberinnen, which is a novel, and it is considered one of the very important books of women's literature on women's movement or on emancipation and so on. And I was actually the language Elfriede Jelinek has used. Elfriede Jelinek is also a Nobel Prize winner. And she is very famous for the use of her language, how she goes about the language. For example, in this particular novel, she uses, for example, the proverbs in their denotative and immediately in their connotative, or in connotative usage and immediately in denotative usage. And she is using constantly the style in which the exaggeration, repetition, satire, they are often mixed. They are actually sometimes also interchanged. I mean, it is very different language exposure which I got through this book. And so I was fascinated, and I thought that why not take this for translation. And she talks about sexuality of women. She talks about actually the women, two women, Brigitte and Paula. They are the main figures, protagonists, so to say. And she criticizes them. So this is something which is very very near to Brecht maybe, or to another very famous author in Austria, Karl Kraus. You make them protagonists whom you want to criticize heavily. And that is what Elfriede Jelinek does here. And so I thought that this is a very different kind of book, and it could be a contribution to Marathi literature because of the uniqueness of the presentation. And so I translated this, which was published by Continental Prakashan. And again the title, because the Liebhaberinnen is also a coined word by Elfriede Jelinek, which was not really directly translatable, because you can use Liebhaber, but Liebhaberin is coined, And then again in plural, Liebhaberinnen, it is something different. Though in English it is translated as the lovers. But she does not talk about love at all in her book. So I took the names of those two protagonists and I named it Brigitte and Paula.
Okay.
So that was the another book. Then Judith Hermann is another author, a writer in Germany, who became very famous in 90s.
Okay.
She basically wrote stories, not the novels. She did write novels afterwards, but she became famous through her stories. And her very first story book, which is called Sommerhaus später. So I liked that very much. And because I was in Germany in 93, I think, in 2000. And in 2000, I was just, because I studied for my doctoral research women's literature, I was also curious afterwards that what are now the women writers writing in Germany. So one of my friends said, but it is very different now. They are not talking about the themes and topics which they already discussed in their literature in 80s. So now, and after the reunification, the whole thing was changed. So then she recommended me Judith Hermann's book. So this was one of the women writers, so to say, but she was writing on different issues, on different themes. And I liked the way she dealt with the themes and topics. Basically, she is talking about the young generation in 90s and in 2000, so to say. Basically in 90s. And her stories, particularly in that book, they are more the stories of Berlin also. Because she is one from Berlin. And young generation in Berlin who are orientierungslos, that is, they are disoriented. They don't know what to do. They are also, they are smokers, and they are just passing their time, so to say. So it is a different approach altogether to the young generation. And it's a wonderful language which she uses. So this book I translated one by one story. I mean, not the whole book at one go, so to say, but I translated the stories one by one, and I published them also in Kelyane Bhashantar, and then they were compiled in a book form. And again published with the help of Continental Prakash.
But the name of this book is Lal Prawal and Itar Katha.
Because the first story is Rote Korale. So it starts with that story. So Lal Prawal and Itar Katha. Because again the title Sommerhaus später. So Sommerhaus später, that is the protagonist in that story. She is saying, her friend offers her a stay in his Sommerhaus, but she always refuses it, and she always says, "Not now, später." Later.
That is
this particular title was again in that way untranslatable in Marathi as a title.
Correct.
So I thought of using the title of the first story, Lal Prawal and Itar Katha.
Yes, that is quite relatable. That's true.
Khidkya is a book of a play by Clemens Medgar. It so happened that my husband, who is no more now, he had a project with Girish Joshi, one of the theatre persons, and they wanted to go to Germany to see many plays actually on stage, and then decide with the help of Goethe Institute. Goethe Institute has sponsored them, and they would select one particular play, and then they would translate it and stage it here. So that was the original project. My husband was, it was not possible for him to go to Germany because he was not well. But Girish Joshi had gone there. He saw many plays and he suggested 2 or 3 for translation. So this particular play by Clemens Medgar, it was staged in Hamburg.
Okay.
And it was a very interesting play, and where the viewers of our spectacles of our society of Maharashtra, he thought that they could actually relate to this particular problem. So it is a story of a grandmother who is suffering from dementia. And the grandson who introduces her to the virtual world of some social media, and she creates her own identity, different identity as a young person, as a young woman, and she becomes many followers. And at the same time, she starts losing her own identity due to dementia. So this is a fantastic story. And then my husband started translating it. But unfortunately, he could not complete the translation. So I took it up and I completed the translation. And then Girish Joshi adopted it. So he made the Rangavrutti. That is the stage play, which is adaptable for the Marathi stage. So, and then what happened? I suggested Continental Publisher, as I mentioned that I am really fortunate that I always requested my publisher and she readily agreed to it. So again, this was a academic venture where we published German text by Clemens Medgar, Marathi translation rendered by my husband and myself, and the stage adaptation written by Girish Joshi. So all 3 texts are in one book. So this is actually very useful for the students who could see how it could be translated, and how actual translation can be adopted for the stage. So it is also a kind of contextualization. And so actual translation and adaptation, you can always compare it with the original text. So that was, and I gave the title, which was something different. And then Girish Joshi suggested Khidkya, because that grandmother in that story, in that play, she's constantly referring to windows she opens in her computer.
The Windows system.
And also there is a window through which she observes the outside world. She is all alone. And because of the dementia, she cannot relate to the world around her. So that is the only window through which she sees what happens outside.
Fantastic.
So he suggested that Khidkya is the right word for title.
Great.
And we also accepted it.
Yeah. And how was this translation different? Because this was a translation of a play, right? So a different genre than you have handled. Like you have handled short stories, maybe, and novels. And this was a different one.
It's a very good question, because translating 3 different genres, you have to use different techniques or different styles actually. But particularly in this case of Khidkya, there are no dialogues. The grandmother and grandson, they are actually saying their monologues. They don't come in front of each other in the whole play. But only grandmother is there and only grandson is there. So that is the one thing, because there is no dialogue in that particular play. But I translated another play of Bertolt Brecht, which is called Arturo Uis. There is a long title, but Arturo Ui, it is famously known as Arturo Ui. And this particular drama, this particular play I translated, and there I could see, and actually Brecht has written it in verse.
Oh.
So it is all different style. But in the first scene, I did follow that verse style, but it was not possible again. So because otherwise you have to compromise on the context, content, which is not possible.
Right.
So then I translated. It's a full length play by Brecht, and keeping Brecht in mind always. So that was a wonderful experience, because this genre, the language you are using, it should be also speakable, and not only readable but also speakable, and which should be delivered in a dialogue fashion. So accordingly, of course the person who is going to stage it or who would stage it, he would again do some kind of editing.
Yes.
But different genre actually demands different techniques of translations, or different styles.
Great. Your recent translation is Svikrut, from German. Was it a novel, or what was it? German Leben by David Wagner.
Yeah. I mean, it is presented as a novel, though it is again autobiographical text. Which is fiction. I mean, the author says at the beginning that a sentence which says it could be fiction, but it could be also reality. It is on the verge of
borderline.
Because he has, it could be also his own story of organ transplantation. He talks about liver transplant in this particular book. And in 2013, I had gone for a international translators meet in Berlin. And in that year, actually, that particular week was, many authors were invited to our translators meet, and they could also present their own literary works. And we were also given many books which the organizers wanted that German literature to be translated in various languages. So David Wagner had come and he did his reading. He read out a few parts from his book, Leben, and that was wonderful what he presented. Because this topic of liver transplantation is also very unique, and I found it very fascinating. And then we all 30 of us, we went to Leipzig Book Fair, and David Wagner was actually nominated for the Leipzig Book Prize, and he received that. He got that prize also. And by coincidence, actually, we were all there. We heard him 2-3 days back, and he received the prize, so we were naturally very happy. And that was the reason why I thought of translating this book. And then I was on sabbatical leave for 1 year. Thanks to the university, I got that leave, and I utilized that leave for translating this whole book.
Great. It truly shows your passion for translation. But being a non-medico, did you face any problems while doing this novel? Because it must be including a lot of medical terms.
Actually, in the narrative or in the narration, he does not use many medical terms. But in between, what he does, he takes out passages from his medical files, hospital files, and uses them as background, so to say. So there, of course, it is all in medical terms. And sometimes he has to talk about his medical reports and all, and there he uses all medical terms. Then of course the dictionary was there, but then I consulted a few doctors, 2 doctors, 2 or 3 I think, but one was my cousin brother, who is a surgeon, and he deals with
gastroenterologist.
Correct. And then though he does not do the transplant, organ transplant, but he is thorough, and then I asked him and he explained me everything. And that is how I could actually, those passages which are the part of hospital files, which are placed in between in his novel, David Wagner's novel. So that I could actually correct, because there were lots of misunderstanding, or I was ignorant of so many things what happens in our body. So that part I could translate well, thanks to Dr. Raghunath Godbole.
Okay. Madam, you have co-edited the volume of translated stories called Kathantar. It was published by Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya Sanskriti Mandal in Mumbai in 2017. So were these stories translated from German into Marathi, or how was that?
No. Actually, it is a compilation of stories translated from 6 different languages into Marathi.
Okay.
So the database was the Kelyane Bhashantar. Basically from those we have taken.
Okay.
And Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya Sanskriti Mandal wanted to have a volume which would contain the stories of contemporary stories.
Achha,
Then we said, okay, we will start from 1960 because what happened before 1960, they are more of war stories or post-war literature, and which is well known in for Indian readers also. So we thought to omit that post-war era, and we started with 1960 up to 2000, so to say, and we from all from the foreign languages. I think we took Spanish from South American countries, German from Austria and Germany, and French from France, and then Russia, Russian from Russia, and I think one Polish stories also. So 6 different languages are represented, and there are 20 stories from different authors, and they are contemporary, means belonging to the next half, last half of the 20th century.
Okay, so quite modern in that way.
Yeah.
But we know that there are so many foreign languages, but we seem to get translations from these limited languages.
Yeah, basically European languages. And we also have, I forgot to mention Japanese, which is also there in Kathantar. So Japanese, because we have a very good translator in Japanese. We are, the translations which Kelyane Bhashantar receives are basically from European languages. Yeah. And very few translations translators are there for other languages, and so from Japanese we usually get translations. One of the Asian languages. Yeah.
And so which future projects do you have in mind now? What is going on just now? Which translation are you handling just now?
Actually, Maharashtra Rajya Sahitya and Sanskriti Mandal is going to publish our next volume, which is volume of 6 novelettes. 3 Russian and 3 German. And that is a very thick book it is going to be, around some 450 pages, because the 3 novelettes of Russian literature, they are written by Turgenev, and translated by Anna Gabhat, and 3 novellen, that is novelettes, one is German, one is Swiss, and one is Austrian. So there also so all 3 German-speaking countries are represented. So one is Stefan Zweig, then Gottfried Keller, and Heinrich von Kleist. And translated by Sunanda Mahajan and myself.
Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today, and wish you all the best for all your future projects.
Thanks a lot.